Oh boy, we are embracing our inner tomboy today, aren't we? The dark circles and everything. Wow! But it's all good because I have iced coffee. Also, shout out to Catholic Connect for this awesome t-shirt, which I think I wore in another one of my videos, but we're not talking about that because I love this t-shirt. And it's Pope John Paul II. I should probably actually show you guys so that, there we go. Catholic Connect. Anyways, so today we're going to be talking about Our Lady of Lourdes. Today is St. Bernadette's feast day. Originally, I wanted to do this Marian Apparition on Our Lady of Lourdes feast day, which is February 11th, but I did not get to it. So we are going to do it on Bernadette's feast day because I feel like that's appropriate, right? Yeah. I think so. So without further ado, we're just going to jump into this. Now our story begins in southern France with Bernadette. Bernadette was born on January 7th, 1844, and she always suffered from certain weaknesses of the body. So she really struggled with asthma, which caused her to be sick a lot of the time and have a bunch of colds. And because of that, she usually missed a lot of school, and therefore she wasn't a very good peer when it came to learning things. She was often referred to as stupid or dumb because she didn't understand a lot of things due to missing school so much. At the time of the apparitions, Bernadette was 13 and was preparing to receive her first Holy Communion. On February 11th, 1858, Bernadette, her sister, and a friend went out to go collect firewood because that's one of their chores. Her friend and her sister decided to cross the river and they left Bernadette alone. When all of a sudden, Bernadette started hearing this sound that sounded a lot like a storm, and she looked all around and she couldn't see anything until she looked to this grotto and saw this beautiful lady. These are Bernadette's exact words. "I raised my head and looked towards the grotto. I saw a lady dressed in white, wearing a white dress, a blue girdle, and a yellow rose on each foot, the same color as the chain of her rosary." Our Lady was praying the rosary. However, she made sure to stay quiet during the Our Father because it would be inappropriate of her to ask the Father for her daily bread, and she stayed quiet during the Hail Mary because she would not salute herself. This is very important when it comes to confirming Marian apparitions. But she was praying the Gloria because she will give praise and glory to the Trinity. Bernadette went over to the beautiful lady, she knelt down, and they began to pray the rosary together. When Bernadette finished her prayer, she looked up and Our Lady had vanished. By this time, her sister and her friend crossed back over the river to go and get her, and she told them of this beautiful lady that she saw. And her sister more or less spilled the beans to her parents, and so Bernadette had to reluctantly tell her parents about the lady, and she was forbidden from going back to the grotto. But on February 14th, they had a change of heart and they allowed her to go back to the grotto. And on the 18th of February, Our Lady asked her to continue coming for the next 2 weeks. Our Lady is a woman of very few words in her apparitions, but this is what she told Bernadette. She told her that, "I cannot promise to make you happy in this world, only in the next." She also told Bernadette that when she came to the grotto to bring a blessed candle with her. During Bernadette's 5th visit to the grotto, Our Lady taught her a prayer and revealed to her certain secrets. Now, Bernadette never revealed any of this, and there's speculation that the secrets were about her future and her life, but again, this is only speculation. There's no ideal fact because she never revealed it. During this time, the civil authorities were breathing down Bernadette's throat. They did not want her going back to the grotto, and they did everything in their power to prevent Bernadette from continuing going to the grotto. But she still went. She was determined, and I'm pretty sure there was some divine intervention that helped her to continue going to that grotto for 2 weeks. During the 6th apparition, Bernadette received the junction of "Pray for Sinners." And during the 7th apparition, something interesting happens. During this apparition, it lasts for almost an hour, and Bernadette, where she's kneeling, she stays kneeling, but she moves to the rose bush that's in the hollow where Our Lady is standing. And she kisses the ground, and then while still kneeling, scoots her way back to where she was originally. And when she was asked about this, she said that Our Lady told her something that she cannot reveal. During the 8th apparition, Our Lady repeated the word penance 3 times. Now on the 9th apparition, Our Lady requested that Bernadette drink from the fountain and bathe in it, but there's no such fountain where Bernadette is. So she dug and scratched at the ground, and she washed her face and drank the muddy water. Our Lady also requested that she eat the grass, and she did so, obeying willingly. Absolutely, that's what she did. And then that night, the spring began to swell, and there was a new spring there, and that's where so many conversions and miracles have taken place. On the 13th apparition of Our Lady, she requested that Bernadette would go to the clergy and to the priest and request that a chapel will be built in the grotto where she stands. Now, the clergy kind of pushed back quite a bit because they were skeptical about this apparition and they didn't have enough proof. So because of that, they pushed back a lot on Bernadette. And they basically told her, like, well, what's this lady's name? Has she named herself, etc.? And Bernadette asked the Blessed Virgin what her name was multiple times, but she never answered until March 25th, where Our Lady finally told her that she was the Immaculate Conception. And March 25th is the Feast of the Annunciation, in case some of you guys didn't know that. And because during this time, Pope Pius XI just put in the decree that all Catholics should believe Immaculate Conception of the Virgin Mary, this was pretty brand new as a dogma, so to speak, and so it really hadn't reached Bernadette or her peers, so it wasn't really spoken about. So because of that, it makes sense that Bernadette didn't understand what Our Lady was talking about. She was pretty confused about those words, but the priests and the clergy understood what it meant, and so they kind of pressured Bernadette, being like, well, you must have heard this somewhere, like you're making this up or something. But Bernadette was just like, I have no clue. I failed most of my catechism classes, so I have no idea. And eventually they had to be like, okay, well, she doesn't understand, I guess. The miracle of the lighted candle happened next on the 17th apparition. While Bernadette was in an ecstatic trance, she always carried that blessed candle with her in her left hand. And so she took her right hand while in a trance and she put it over the flame of the candle, and it remained there for several minutes, and she didn't scream in pain or anything. There was no damage done to her hand, nothing. And then after that happened and she came out of prayer and she was walking through the crowds, a man by the name of Dr. Dozis took a candle and put it on her hand, and of course she cried out in pain, duh. And because of that, shortly after, he had the whole place barricaded off and the public was forbidden basically from going there. So it was all, you know, the shrine was taken down, it was barricaded, it was a mess. And then finally, the 18th apparition. Bernadette finally received her first Holy Communion on the feast of Our Lady of Mount Carmel, and she had this really, really strong urge to go back to the grotto. Now, the grotto was still completely closed off. It was barricaded, gated off, and everything. So her and her aunt kneeled down in the grass as close as they could get to it, and Our Lady appeared to her for the last time. After these apparitions, Bernadette joined the Sisters of Charity, but was continuously plagued with illnesses, and she ended up getting a bone cancer. But she never complained, and she continued to do her duties. She eventually died on April 16th, 1978, at the age of 34, and her body is incorruptible. So if you haven't watched the movie, The Song of Bernadette, I highly suggest you watch it today. And even if you have watched it before, it is personally one of my favorites. And I think today would just be a really great day to rewatch that movie. Maybe make it a tradition, you know, every year, either on the feast day of Our Lady of Lourdes or on the feast day of Saint Bernadette, you watch the movie. It is truly inspiring. It's a little longer, but the acting is amazing. It truly portrays, I believe, accurately what Our Lady of Lourdes would have been like, the story, in other words. And also, I feel like to an extent, I've read, you know, books on Our Lady of Lourdes and everything in the story, but there's just something about the old movie, The Song of Bernadette, that really brings it to life. And it's done so well. I absolutely love this movie. So If you haven't watched it yet, consider watching it today because it is the feast day of Bernadette. So yeah, I just think this is a really cool story. I know it was highly requested, so I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!